the first pick priority become for G2?
Damn good question. A lot of high prio picks still available. Aurora, the one you highlighted first, and I think probably the most important, but Nidalee.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Tarzan. I think this is one of his best champions. There is a difference. You'll notice Tarzan's early game impact when he's on a carry versus when he's on when he's not. That's not to say that he's bad when he's off carries.
No, sure.
But you really feel it in the early game when he's on something like a Nidalee.
Also, just LPL Nidalees can be terrifying, right? And the sheer amount of CC and setup champs that are present in the meta right now that AD carries are mostly gone from mid lane, means she's kind of better than ever in a lot of situations.
The Kalista priority for G2, that explains the Poppy ban right from the start.
Yep.
Ash removed as well. G2's coming with a clear game plan that they want to play towards the bot side of the map.
Do they also want to try something like Nico, potentially? Obviously a champion, or do they want to just set up counterpick for MikyX, I guess is the broader question, regardless of what it is.
You already talked about the LPL's priority around Jhin.
I don't like it. I think in the right circumstances, Jhin can be one of the best AD carries in the game, but it's so much more about the other stuff you put around him. I don't think he is the safe kind of early pick that most teams are using him as.
I was about to say the Rumble.
This is one of the picks that he needs to be the best AD in the meta.
When you pair that up with the Rumble, we haven't seen it from Breathe so far at this tournament, but they are going to lock it in for him. I think that it's such a great flexible pick, and I think that many teams have been finding success with it, in particular around the team fights.
And this
Orianna's still up, by the way.
And this is something that Xiaohu's already played. This is something that was banned against G2 for most of MSI, if I remember correctly.
But thing is now, if you're G2, do you really want to play Orianna into this?
Immobile carries against Jhin Rumble feels terrible. So now we have Galio. Remember that this is entirely a flex. Top Galio was kind of the big rumored priority pick. We've seen it a little bit. Hasn't looked too great. Yeah, we didn't look too great there. We also saw it mid in the hands of Scout yesterday in our series between LNG and DK. So still some room for interpretation in terms of where this is actually going to go, but definitely can mitigate some of the upfront damage of the Rumble paired with Rell.
It's not support anymore.
Will feel nice. So right now, really great engage tools. Some good tools to mitigate any potential dive threat as well. Galio taunt is so good, or has been so good historically against any kind of dive threat.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't convinced by the Galio top. We'll see if things are different this time around. Assuming that it is for Broken Blade, he was in Europe the big innovator for new top lane picks. He was the early adopter of the Rek'Sai top. He grabbed the Zac top as well. He's always been someone to try new stuff on the top side of the map, and we'll see if he does bring out this Galio. The Leona coming out for Crisp. I think this is definitely one of his preferred champions when you look across his career. Jhin Leona also just has great setup, and already Weibo have this fantastic siege composition. It's a bit old school, but like Rumble ultimate into Jhin ultimate, it's an easy way to force you off a tower, right? Yep. And if you throw in a Makoai as well, perhaps, easy Merc tread set up there.
Sure.
But it just provides so much utility and zone control around these neutral objectives.
One, I think this is the kind of the context that's important for both these picks. With Rumble nerf not as powerful early on, obviously the ult is still really good, but I think it's these two champions together that kind of amplifies both their power so much. And if you're playing something as short range as Kalista, you really need to be able to pull the trigger and engage aggressively. But if you make a mistake against a duo like Rumble and Jhin, games fall apart very quickly. Now, seeing the Skarner taken away, obviously Tarzan thus far has been more about supporting the rest of the team, hasn't been on carry junglers. I imagine with so much damage in top lane, we will see the same be true. Sejuani, another kind of long range option to potentially, you can just keep G2 at arm's length.
But Weibo's thinking about mid bans right now, I think, anyway. Yes, there's the Vi. I thought G2 may consider the Vi. Now they have to raise questions around, do they want to get rid of maybe Sejuani? What jungler are they even considering right now? Jungle pool is getting pinched a decent amount.
With Kalista Galio, you really want some damage coming out of top and jungle. Galio can do a decent amount, but usually, opting for
I see what you're saying. You're
defensive items early.
Something like a Viego, maybe.
I mean,
Jarvan, maybe.
Viego, big comfort pick for Yike. Obviously feels good when you can.
I mean, you can see the G2. I think G2 was thinking about the Vi ban themselves, but once Weibo decided to do it, they've removed one of the comfort picks for Xiaohu in mid lane. You imagine mid lane's going to be safe for last, so we should see a jungler come through now. Sejuani is a possibility. Maybe even the Ivern. Perhaps it's a little bit too much on the... We talked about the Makoai earlier. There's going to be the lock-in. You are now kind of looking at maybe an AD mid laner If they go for AP, it's a lot of magic damage on the side of Weibo. Into Galio, that's not ideal. But, like, I guess it's going to be a Tristana?
I think it has to be a Galio top at this point.
Yep.
This would be bold.
That would be interesting. Drawing some inspiration from
The VCS.
Gam, perhaps?
This is a champion that can be disruptive.
Orianna.
Orianna instead going to be the option here. So likely we need AD in the jungle pool. And
Nocturne.
this is quite a combo in terms of disrupting the long-range threat that Weibo have brought to the table.
Now, we've been seeing at the World Championship teams utilize Nocturne's ultimate very effectively to create surprise engages so that champions can find good flanks even in warded up areas. And when you pair that with a Rell and a Galio, you can see how powerful the engage tools really are. Meanwhile, so for those that don't understand, G2 have this great kind of wombo combo set up with the team fight. The Orianna Nocturne is a very lethal combo that has easy access onto the backline. Meanwhile, Weibo, they have similar team fighting strengths. We already talked about the zone control that Rumble and Jhin together provide. But when you throw in a Makoai to boot, like around objectives, it becomes very difficult to approach or even start one just because of how much space Weibo can occupy. Tristana and Jhin going to be offering a lot of consistent DPS in the later game fights, and even after the nerfs, I think that Tristana is still a fine champion. But yeah, there's a lot of damage on the side of Weibo, that's for sure. We'll see if G2 can weather the storm and how this early game is going to play out, because we've had mixed performances from Weibo, one really good early game, one not so good one against Team Liquid, whereas for G2, the criticism around their early game pretty much all year, as they focused on improving the mid game, which we see. They find good fight.
Weibo can be a bit of an unknown quantity, but frankly, I really like what they put together in terms of the draft. Jhin, a champion that I think in the right circumstances can really take over games, really be such a fantastic powerhouse of a pick. We saw it in the Jackie Love game when he could get all those static shift procs, and Weibo have the recipe here to make that happen again.
But I also think the reason why this matchup is tense for EU fans specifically is that as the first seed from the LEC, as someone who internationally is expected to make it far, against the fourth seed from the LPL, on paper, this should be a favored matchup for G2.
Yeah.
If they want to stick by their convictions that they are able to contest the World Championship, right? Like, this is a matchup that they should be winning, which is why I think there's a lot on the line for the side of G2. For Weibo, of course, a roster where their expectations have been very low. Yeah. From the outside in, it's difficult to gauge how strong this Weibo is, and the fact that they've continued to surprise. Last year's World Championship, this year in terms of their LPL playoff run, they're a team that's able to find that magic, and I think a lot of it comes off the back of Tarzan's consistency in terms of his early game impact, and then Light. This man is incredibly consistent in terms of his damage output, his laning phase, and G2 are putting a lot of emphasis in the early game on their bot lane 2 versus 2.
Definitely are. I want to draw attention briefly to the mid lane just because there is so much history here. And of course, favoring Xiaohu. It's important to note a lot of these games happened in the Fnatic era when LEC as a whole, or EU LCS at the time, weren't able to compete. When Xiaohu was really dominating with RNG across the board, it was Perks really who had the better record against Xiaohu. Now we'll have to see if this is a new chapter for this particular rivalry. As you said, bot lane early at least. Gonna be a big center of attention. It's on Mickey. Nice exchange there. Ignite for Ignite overall.
Both AD carries relatively healthy. Level 2 going to be coming through soon. Oh, Xiaohu gets a nice trade onto Caps there. Orianna does have the ability to consistently hit her opponent thanks to her Clockwork Wind-Up passive. Yep. But Tristana is still Tristana. So as long as she keeps hitting you in the face, she's going to do a lot of damage. On the top side of the map, we can see the Galio getting a bit of push in the 1v1 matchup. Broken Blades going for the Aftershock, providing him those extra bit of resistances. There's that magic shield from his W. Not going to be at a very high level early on. It is going to help him get some very nice trades, maybe even
really
a kill.
Good trades.
Oh
nice. On the E!
Broken Blade just finds it. So this is what the Galio does in the matchup. You get the early push, you get the level advantage, finds a solo kill onto Breathe. Broken Blade holding on to the moniker of best top laner in Europe.
And this is so crucial. Because it's not just about the laning phase, but Rumble has so much impact on what this composition of Weibo can do, putting him down early, delaying a level 6, getting a lead for this Galio. It's big for the side of G2 Esports. A misstep from Breathe. Obviously, a bit of an unconventional matchup. We don't see it that much outside of solo.
I mean, who would expect that to just get...
I just always love the E backwards. Because you can obviously, you can hit it on the windup if you go backwards.
But also, there was this change when Galio got this like mini rework where the passive just comes up a lot more often now. And I think that Breathe just wasn't kind of expecting that to come out so quickly because the damage from Broken Blade really caught him unawares. No flash, ended up being burnt. And yeah, small lead. Merc Dreads. Magic resistance already being bought by Broken Blade.
Definitely. The early itemization going to favor him a lot. Hansama forced to cleanse here as Tarzan's on the way in. Bit of an overstep. Might be some bad information where the enemy jungler was, but an easy and fast kill pick up for the side of Weibo. Tarzan taking the kill. Maybe not ideal, but didn't want to wait for Light to reload.
A crucial mistake from Hans as he overstays for the wave, making sure that it gets underneath the tower. Mickey thinks that he's safe to allow him to push that in, but Tarzan's in a position to collapse, doing a full clear from his top side towards bot, and just like that, Weibo have equalized the kill score.
Good opportunity recognition from the side of Weibo, and for G2, reminds me of yesterday, right? Broken Blade was doing fine in the top lane 1v1 for the early game, and G2's bot lane was winning initially, but they overstayed a little bit, and it cost them. Part of the reason why that early game was so rough against Hanwha Life. This mid lane match, however, much more even than yesterday's was.
Crucially, both of Hansama's summoners are now gone. Light expended his flash as well, but still has the cleanse available. So while the top side of the map going favorably for G2, the bot side of the map, small advantage gained for Weibo.
I will say that slowing Broken Blade down is a tall task for Weibo. They have exclusively magic damage on jungle top. Broken Blade's naturally going to build magic resist. Hollow Radiance likely to be the first item.
I mean, Merc Treads gets a lot of value.
Merc Treads, Hollow Radiance, you're going to have wave clear, and he might, I don't know if he can win the 2v1, but he can certainly live for quite a long time.
Sure. Naturally, Galio doesn't have a huge amount of damage if you're not building for it, especially.
No.
But yeah, we kind of take stock of the map. I wonder if we'll see some resets come through soon. The Grubs are going to be up in 30 seconds. TP's committed from both solo laners.
At the same time,
no rotation just yet from Hansama.
Keep in mind, Broken Blade could have probably walked back to top. You can see the wave's in a position where he didn't necessarily need to immediately TP, but wants to have that prio. Wants to be able to open up Grubs as a potential option, or at least very least reset the wave. Now the TP from Xiaohu. Early itemization, just some mercs to make it through the laning phase. Again, pretty high value. Yike going to be first on the Grubs, but Weibo going to be playing around the bottom side instead. Have a lot of really good scaling tools, so setting themselves up for a potential Drake win condition does make sense. Conceding Grubs early is always a bit of a risk. Likely means they will have to contest the second spawn, but for now, just the trade of objectives.
Wisely done by Weibo. I think they recognize that trying to fight on the top side probably isn't the smartest choice for them. Instead, they'll just play around the fact that there's a wave pushing on the bot side of the map. Easy trade of objectives. The Rumble can just drop the ulti into the top lane, which is exactly what Breathe is going to do. You can see that skill on cooldown. Catch that top wave, go back to base. Not much the Broken Blade can do about it. Meanwhile, G2's bot lane has to play on the weak side. They'll catch the wave being pushed in. And ultimately, just a trade of objectives. So relatively slow early game. Impressive stuff from Broken Blades. And a nice punish from Weibo to catch out Hansama. Summoners slowly coming off cooldown. And we're kind of setting our sights on the next Grub spawn in about 3.5 minutes as Nocturne now ticking over to 6. Tarzan looking to do the same in the near future.
Should be a big fight. We'll see who can get favorable setup. Both supports also racing to get level 6 as quickly as they can. Obviously last year when Herald spawned at 8 minutes, so much of the discussion was that arms race for support level 6 this year. Can't contest it on first Grubs, but second Grubs should be able to have it reliably. And honestly, just a very, very tense game. And this is interesting because I think we expected kind of today to be this all-out bloodbath, but a lot of our games have been very reserved for both teams.
Except game one.
Except for game one. Game one not reserved. Game one needed to be reserved.
Yes. But it was not.
It was not.
Cap's looking for a bit of a trade onto Xiaohu. Crisp there to cover. Similar position for Mickey. I think both supports are a little outside of XP range. Mickey going to clear out that ward.
A lot of emphasis on topside control here. Waves crashing in. I guess just looking to set up some control wards for future plays, future objectives. Keep eyes on Yike, obviously, post level 6. Paranoia can't always just be such a powerful tool to punish side laners, to punish anyone for overstepping on waves.
Mickey in a good position, but going to be spotted up by Crisp. Both supports should aim to try and get their level 6 ASAP. The next scrub spawn is in 2 minutes' time. Yike continues to power farm through his jungle. Tarzan a little bit behind on the clear, as you'd kind of expect. Yike hasn't really looked for any ganks as of yet. He does have some setup on the bot side of the map, but with all their summoners available, it may be a little bit tricky. I think his first use of the ultimate is largely going to come off the back of Caps, trying to find that wombo combo.
We're really gearing up for a big fist fight around the next objective. All of these summoner spells coming back up, neither side. Going for too many aggressive moves. You can see G2 kind of force a retreat here, not having an early support itemization, not having any wards in inventory does mean they don't have tri-brush control, and it's the looming threat of Tarzan appearing in their lane for the side of G2 is just always there without that information.
It's going to come through from Mickey, who is now finally level 6. Crisp actually still short on that experience. Merc Tread's now secured for Mickey, along with the control wards. Tiamat picked up as well. Perhaps the Phage, or missed which one came first. But Stride Breaker on its way for Yike, regardless. Here are the Grubs now, 55 seconds. We've been talking a lot about them because I'm curious as to whether or not you imagine that G2 is going to have a priority on them, and the question is Weibo going to look to try and fight, given that there's still a minute discrepancy between the Dragon and the Grubs, or instead will they concede it, perhaps look for some pressure on the bot side of the map?
Mickey trying to create some pressure. I think maybe hoping to contest Xiaohu at least a little bit on his mid push here to ensure that they do have first access to the Grubs. And when we talk about this G2 composition, it's not that they necessarily have the strongest side laners in the world, but whenever you build a composition with Nocturne, your side lanes just naturally get that much better, and you can really leverage this Grub buff.
Certainly can. Notice that the bot lane of Weibo has made their way up, so it looks like they're eager to contest. Hansama making a beeline towards there now. Cleared out that wave.
Caps. He's prioritized first item completion. He has no boots. He just rushed that Ludens, wanting to be more powerful for the fight.
Nice spike to have for sure.
Downside of double AD carries, you have no item spikes.
Remember, Broken Blade doesn't actually have to rotate down if he doesn't want to. He can just keep the Rumble pushed and then has the ultimate available. Let's see how G2 can utilize the Nocturne ultimate as Weibo now trying to find space. Remember the amount of zone control they have, though. Makoai ultimate, Rumble ultimate, Jhin ulti.
This might be a situation where G2 just take the 4th Grub and walk away.
They're looking for more.
Right now, Weibo Gaming are just window shopping. They don't have an angle into
Rumble's
the objective.
too far away, that's why.
Might get the 4th Grub buff.
You're completely right.
Strike.
Weibo have just sat and watched.
And this is the problem, is they're waiting for that window of opportunity to leverage their composition, but G2 just don't really give them the angle, and they don't feel confident to just force and start the fight, and as a result, they show up to watch another team get a 6th Grub buff.
Now, G2 have said, we're quite happy to concede the next dragon, you can have it, because now we've got 6 Grubs, and Kalista can be left alone in top lane. Breathe will have the ultimate available to clear out this wave. I think the idea from G2 is to maybe funnel some plates into Hansama, but I don't think this plan is going to pay off just because of the Rumble ulti.
Difficult. Broken Blade, obviously when you're playing out on a side lane.
Oh, the dive. Smart play from G2, but again, here's the Rumble ulti that we were just talking about.
I think it's important to stress, G2 playing incredibly well around the 2nd Grub spawn. Caps sacrificing himself in terms of boots, which would have helped the lane a lot to prioritize that first major item completion to make sure they were stronger. It does require them to concede the Drake, but now they're about to knock down the first tower of the game.
They're really committed for this, and I think it's a good gold injection. They're sharing it across 3. I'm a little surprised that they would give some of that gold to Mickey, but that's first tower. That's a lot of gold.
This is a very big gold lead. Weibo are setting themselves up for a Cloud Soul kind of win condition or a way to force a 5v5. But G2 are very rapidly accumulating a pretty significant lead.
Notice that they've put Xiaohu into Broken Blade with the idea being, ha, you've built all this magic resistance and we have an AD mid laner. That means that our Tristana can actually do damage to you. And then Broken Blade has said, okay, I'm happy to play this matchup, but that does mean that your Rumble is now at risk of being dived. And so, what could Breed do there? He threw the ultimate down, the idea was good, but then the next wave spawned, he's zoned away from the wave. Look, he's cautious to even approach this, because as you highlighted earlier, Nocturne, side lanes, scary, real scary, because if you overstep, the ability to collapse is very quick.
Right now, the good news is it's only rank 1 of ultimate, and mid lane tower is still standing. When that one falls, it's so easy for G2 to get access to Weibo's jungle. But this is a situation where G2 are leveraging the power of their composition in the 6 grubs, but now Weibo want to punish Caps for overstaying, but here comes the Galio to try to disrupt the play. Mickey ready to turn as well. G2 should just be content to retreat. Makoai ultimate hitting 2, 4 shot on the Caps, trying to get him out of the exchange. G2, do they want this fight? They already absorbed the engage. They got what they came for in the bottom lane. No, they're not going to take the 5v5. They just go right back for the tower, knowing Weibo doesn't have a wave to play around. Caps can recall and TP right back to mid.
He has to be careful about that TP, though. The risk of a dive is still very real. Makoai ulti used, but Breathe, his ulti is going to be up available soon. Light and Crisp also used their engages. Smart TP from Caps onto the tier 2.
The plates are still up for a brief moment, so they don't really have a way to threaten the entire tower.
I mean, the criticism coming in was, can G2 play the early game well? I can say with confidence they're playing the early game well. They're leveraging the strength of the early grubs that they set up for cleanly. They're playing around the fact that Hansammer is as strong as he is, and they secure top tower, funnel that gold into Hansammer and Yike, then rotate towards bot, leverage the push they have to unlock that tower as well. And on top of that, Caps should have been caught, doesn't burn the flash, TP's back to mid, keeps the tower alive, and now they can have Hans and Mickey come mid with Caps to start sieging onto this final outer tower.
And Xiaohu's still fighting to complete that first item, which means that it's very likely that Weibo cannot contest this Herald, which means that G2 are very likely to break mid, but they don't even need the Herald. They have so much pressure. They see Xiaohu bottom lane. They know he has no TP. They know Breathe has no TP. So they're going to at least get a massive chunk here. They're going to stick around.
They're committing to this tower, and they will secure it. 3 towers, back to back to back. 15 minutes in, and the best they can get is a cross map on the bot side. Xiaohu trying to unlock this tower, but the Herald available as well. That top wave in an awkward spot. Someone has to go and catch it.
Caliber of early game we have not seen from G2
in a while.
In quite some time.
They are just playing the map so much better than Weibo is.
We might even have to go back to one of those the first T1 series at MSI to find something like this. But
I mean, for international viewers, right, like, Dregs and I have cast G2 all year long.
No, you guys don't understand. They just lose and then come back because their macro's good. They just die randomly early game and then they come back. And they're really good at coming back.
Yeah, their summer was not great. Their summer was not great at all. And like the biggest question coming into this World Championship was, can they clear up their early game? So to see them have an early game like this is a surprise, but a welcome one.
And I mean, Mickey talked about it.
I think his quote was, if I just don't int, we would have won against HLE.
I mean, that could be one of many interviews. But, you know, talked a lot about the team ramping up and feeling like the HLE game was winnable despite a rough early game, and that giving the team confidence and that they're building towards that final form. But, of course, pro players are always going to say that.
True.
You know what I mean? They're always going to be like, yeah, we got it. We're one step away. To see it come to fruition, impressive stuff thus far. When we look at Weibo on the opposite side, however, Leandri's is completed. Kraken is completed. You've got a Shiv. There are tools now to fight on at least more even footing with G2. As long as they don't finish those second item spikes, you have a reasonable angle to contest them.
And don't forget, Weibo found themselves behind against Team Liquid. Team Liquid made a couple fumbles, and then Weibo were able to fight their way back in.
Speaking of, Mickey in trouble now. The lights turned off. Crisp is dead. G2 quick to turn, and now they're going to try to lock down Xiaohu, isolate him out of the fight. Broken Blade stepping up, Taunt is there, Fear there onto Xiaohu. Nice use of the spell shield to stop the knockback coming in. They're trying to turn it back with a Rumble. Light still standing for now. Caps is going to be the one in trouble. Breathe and Light turning the fight for a moment, but Yike able to take down Xiaohu. Broken Blade trying to get involved as well, but Mickey is getting lower and lower. Yike needs to try and clean up. Weibo happy with the fight thus far. One more shot. Will it be enough? Light still standing. Hatsama can't get involved. He needs to finish off this Galio. Broken Blade, can he make the difference? A messy, scrappy fight, but the curtains are called. G2 need to be quick. The footwork needs to be good. One sidestep. Hans! Taken out. Maybe thought Broken Blade was going to body block, but that is huge for Weibo.
And it's the team fighting capability of Weibo that comes through. Crisp's initiation is a little bit disconnected from the rest of the team, but the overchase from G2 ends up being punished. You'll notice here, as Mickey tries to get vision, the collapse comes in, but Crisp immediately gets collapsed on thanks to all these globals that come through from G2. Then they try to force the fight, but the fight on two fronts. While Yike is turning his attention to Xiaohu with Mickey at his assistance, look at this Rumble ultimate onto Caps and Hans as we turn our attention back to live.
Just a bit of split attention there. Needed to finish off Xiaohu, so he couldn't get back into the fight, but Mickey not being there means they lost so much of that CC. G2, though, still priority access on the objective. They've already cleared out tier 1 mid, so they will grab this Drake. They will slow the sole option from the side of Weibo. For now, G2 still hold the lead, but it's a reminder of how good Weibo can be in those fights if G2 falter for even a moment.
Yeah, I mean, the fight was disconnected, and Weibo immediately took advantage of that. They realized, hang on, they've split their resources too far. and we can punish this. A really nice ulti came through from Breathe. Light's positioning was fantastic. 3-0-2 the scoreline now for him. He's still behind a little bit in terms of gold, but he is a full level up over Hansama. We talked about him coming into this game, how he's been that consistent, reliable carry for Weibo. He's looking to do the same thing here to bring Weibo back into this game.
G2 has to play carefully. Obviously, we've seen Jhin games where he's not able to do a whole ton. A lot of people skeptical about how good the static shift can be. But if you're able to find those resets and fights, it can do so much work. Scrappy back and forth fight. G2 trying to assert their dominance on the top side of the map.
Both supports covering for their mid laners. Jungler's not that far behind. Yike looking for an ult angle. As Broken Blade actually takes the mid wave. Hansama moving up towards top. Not sure what the game plan is here for G2 as they overstack on the top side of the map.
But they see Yike, which is crucial because Breathe can now push as far as he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, all the waves are being caught right now. Nice push in from Breathe. Broken Blade's going to head towards bot. Looks like nothing too dramatic is going to come off the back of that.
I mean, we're 40 seconds away from Baron. G2 can't really threaten at this stage, although Kalista obviously very strong on helping you secure the objective. Either side gets it, honestly. It's pretty difficult for the opposition to slow that push without engaging completely.
2 items now finished for Light. I imagine that he's going to start building the big damage items next.
Hansama really wants to finish this next item.
Still a ways off it though. Finds himself still a full level behind that of Light.
Good discipline from Weibo, waiting to see more members on the map before Chris steps too far forward. Once he sees him on the wave, he knows he can walk in, has the team to back him up.
Patient play overall, as neither team really sees an easy objective to play for. Weibo love to unlock more of these outer towers, but difficult. They can't really find many opportunities on the map. G2, though, conversely, unless they start sieging onto a tier 2, there's not much that they can really do. Herald's actually going to be dropped. They're going to send that towards the bot lane as Caps is there. He has that escape route as he has used a few times throughout the year. Xiaohu chipping away at that tower. Broken Blade, TP up going to be soon.
While G2 happy to put Caps on the Orianna, obviously is going to have the same side lane threat they were used to in their previous game with the Yone. So we'll need to be a bit more conservative on when they push out and fight for these tier 2s. Top lane tier 1 dropping down, and Weibo really starting to even out the gold. Again, item completion's the big thing, and with Jhin at least slightly ahead of the curve, Xiao can finish his second item as well. We're on pretty good footing to start coming out on top in these 5v5s.
You can see Tarzan giving up some of his farm to help funnel Xiaohu. Won't spot any vision thanks to the Scuttle Crab. Much ready to be found though. Broken Blade, the Riftmaker second, something that we often see on Galios to give them a bit of consistent damage. Grouping once again from G2 in the mid lane. Hunt's now finishing off the Rage Blade, so Cap's really the only one that hasn't been able to complete his item ahead of the Dragon fight in about a minute 20. He should still have time and has the TP available, but they're prioritizing getting gold into Hansama. They set their sights on the mids tier 2. Not going to overstay their welcome. I think Xiaohu has to be close to his item. He's waiting in base.
Dragon in a minute and 10 seconds.
Waiting.
Timer counting down. Broken Blade set to push the side wave out.
Navori now completed for Xiaohu.
So such a big spike for Tristana too.
And the BF sword picked up for Light as well. So, I mean, Weibo's getting into a good spot here, ready for the next fight. The Rumble, relatively weaker to Broken Blade, but ultimately still has the Liandry's, so that red carpet's going to dish out some serious damage.
And sometimes when you have follow-up like a Jhin ultimate, all that really matters is a little bit of damage from the Rumble and the slow it provides to ensure you can just isolate those targets. It's hard for Caps to play this out. He's really the most immobile champion on this team. Luckily has the Galio ult to protect him, but if they're using it too defensively, it's going to cost them in some of the fights.
I mean, it's a tense affair. You can tell that a lot of this game is going to come down to the ensuing fights. G2 turning their attention away.
Tarzan on the side. Initial ulti going wide. Nice sidestep from G2. Deadly Flourish also there. TP from Breathe.
Wow, that was a quick response. Weibo were really poised to fight there. They use Crisp's ulti. Now the Dragon becomes a much easier objective to take without one of the engaged tools available. Breathe forced to catch the bot wave once again.
Top wave's not in a bad spot for G2 either. Weibo behind on the play. They can maybe try to rush Baron, but this would be incredibly greedy. They're going to start it though, realizing they don't really have any recourse to stop G2 from taking the Drake.
But it's too ambitious because G2 can just leave the Kalista to take it alone. She's more than happy to solo this objective, especially with the Rend, and that means that the Orianna can be in a position to zone the enemy away.
G2
Crisp
have to stay composed here. Going in onto Yike. Caps isolated. Tarzan now trying to follow up. Nocturne turns the lights off, and they're managing to burn through G2. Mickey trying to make his way out to safety. Yike already retreating. Weibo, they needed that fight. They find it, and now they can turn to the Baron.
Great target selection from Weibo. They find an angle behind Caps, not giving him an opportunity to flash away. They're not even going to try and steal away the Baron. Objective secured. G2 trying to get what else they can on the map.
It is going to take a bit of time, though. They'll at least knock down a tier 2. They'll keep the gold close. Light stepping far forward. G2 don't have perfect information. They can't afford to approach. Well played by Weibo. They knew they lost the Dragon. They really had to find that pick, or they would have lost out big time on the map.
Just a great collapse, all in all. You'll see the chain CC that comes down onto Caps, and there's so little they can do. That angle from Tarzan on the left. Crisp looks like that he's overstaying. He connects onto Yike, but this just gives him the ability to get on top of Caps, and look at that chain CC. Roots into connect from the Jhin. They followed up with a pick onto Mickey, who doesn't bother flashing away, realizing there's little that he can do to get away. And that converts into a Baron for Weibo. Because of the 2 towers secured by G2, I believe they actually still hold on to the gold lead for now. But this is going to be much easier with 2 outer towers still available. There's a lot of standing gold. Oh, I say that 1 tower did drop at the top lane. Standing gold available for Weibo to grab at least in the mid lane.
Important to even things up. Again, 80 carry, 3rd item spike's going to feel very good for Weibo. For G2, you're in a situation where they really set that play up better around the Drake, but Weibo really recognized that window of opportunity to force G2 to come up to them, to threaten the Baron, and then were able to find that engage. Yike maybe a little bit late on the paranoia, you could say. Didn't really have too much effect on the fight. And now we're in a much more even game state, but with Weibo, the next minute and 40 seconds, they control the map.
I mean, this is the thing. It's a lot harder for G2 to level.
Engage on a breathe. They get the Seekers out. Weibo, are they in a position to follow up? Ulti from Mickey not going to connect, but they get the flash out of Breathe. Meanwhile, Xiaohu in the side lane. Someone's eventually going to need to respond. G2. Seems like they want to force the fight. Your eyes on Yike.
To overstay here.
Tarzan sticking around. Xiaohu now trying to get involved. Where's the ulti going to go? They need to isolate a carry. They need to get Yike on top of a key target. Breathe. They know he's got nothing left. They want to finish him off. Good equalizer, but Broken Blade is there to fall off the Rumble out of the equation. A reset now coming in. Broken Blade into 2. Both 80 carries taken off the board for a brief moment. Going gold in the meantime. Chris buying a bit more space. Hansama trying to follow, but Xiaohu and Light are still alive. Light still standing. 1 bullet. The first static reset. Light ready to take over a 4-shot. There's Xiaohu trying to get out. It's a close battle. It's a back and forth. Light. Can he get it done? He's getting lower and lower. He needs to reload. He's got 4 shots. There's 3 opponents. If he can find the kill, the math might work in his favor. The spear coming in. Caps finishes it with the wind-up. Xiaohu versus the world now. Desperate to get the rocket jump reset. He's going to get 1, but he will go down. It's a close fight, but G2 take it in the end.
It's an ace for G2 off the back of Broken Blade's heroics. He finds a crucial 2-man knock-up into Taunt, setting up the whole fight. You'll notice here at the start, G2 turned their attention onto Breathe, isolated as Mickey becomes the target. Xiaohu's not in a good position to follow up, and the near sight from the Nocturne ultimate makes it hard for him to follow. The Galio ultimate coming through, and then Hansama ultimate, and this flash, Taunt into knock-up. It's the 2 crucial carries. It buys enough time for G2 to reposition. Xiaohu and Light's forced to retreat, and then the fight gets split up. Broken Blade and Caps turn their attention to the top side. Light almost single-handedly turns the fight around if it weren't for the tower. But then he's forced to retreat as Caps regroups with the team. Xiaohu with the TP tries to turn the play around, but then Light takes too much damage. The Leandries finishes him off, and while Xiaohu almost cleans up the fight, it's too much damage. And it's G2 that walk away with an ace.
Incredible fight from both sides. Light was 1 auto away from killing 3 members of G2. All it would have taken is 1 more static proc, and he would have been able to clean up the rest. Incredibly close fight. They have to be careful of the Jhin in the future. He's only getting stronger. You see 4K damage. Hansama able to auto attack so consistently, manages to outmatch him. But this is a game of inches. Centimeters, it's so damn close.
I mean, but regardless, like, Broken Blade is the MVP of this game. This man is having
solo kill top.
An incredible performance. Weibo Haven't really found a reliable way to deal with him yet. It's so difficult though with the Nocturne ultimate, and then the Galio can come and you just can't see it coming. It's so difficult to navigate your way through those fights. Weibo kind of need to be the ones to initiate.
And crucially, Light is flashless. He's so vulnerable to that combo in the next fight. Breathe flashless as well. Hasn't got enough money to complete the Zhonya's either.
There we go.
But it's Broken Blade who's potentially been caught out. Initial taunt looks good. He's going to try to ult to his teammates. Forced back. Goes gold, and the rest of the team now on the way. Yike does have ultimate. Do they want to go for this one, or they do want to accept the loss? Beautiful pick from the side of Weibo.
I mean, they're doing a good job of keeping Xiaohu on a side lane. Typically a strength that you associate with Caps on the Orianna. He just can't do what Xiaohu's been doing this game. He's been getting so many resources. He got that tier 2 tower in the top lane as well. He has a 2-level advantage over Caps, and he is at 3 fully completed items. They know that he's the one carry that can shut down Broken Blade, and they're able to catch him off on a side lane.
Big for the Baron setup. A minute now. Top wave pushing in will demand a response. Mid lane slightly in favor of G2.
I mean, Xiaohu is really the big I say Xiaohu's the problem. Light's
also a problem.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't going to be an easy road. G2 won the last fight. But you can see how Xiaohu still has the tools to make this game complicated in a way in which G2 often leverage the side lane to convert games in their favor. Xiaohu can do the same thing in this game. Level 16 being ticked over for many members on both sides.
I mean, Tristana's also got a lot of range, the reset potential here, but it looks like G2 want to try and find a fight, want to try and find a pick of their own. They spot out Tarzan. How many resources can they afford to burn to kill this jungle? It looks like they're willing to spend all of them as Tarzan's about to fall. He tries to flash to safety, but the Rend is there. Broken Blade again off to the side. He finds the Jhin. Isolated, but Breathe is there to protect him, to keep him standing. G2 want to keep going. They know they can take the Baron. 8 seconds. Jungler dead. They should just be able to grab it, but Weibo not dropping anybody else, refusing to fall.
Don't have the Rumble ultimate, which is such a valuable tool. Light gets sent back to base. They have a little bit of vision thanks to the Scuttle Crab, but Tarzan's death is likely going to cost the Baron. How are they going to steal this one away with the Rend available too? They're going to try their best to fight their way back in.
Weibo approaching. Light standing back 8 seconds till the curtain call. This should just be G2's Baron. They recognize they have no access, no way to get in. G2, great pick onto Tarzan, recognizing that window of opportunity to take a jungler out.
I like the idea there from Yike as well. Groups up with Broken Blade, immediately turn their attention onto Light, trusting the other members of the team to clean up the pick onto Tarzan. Means that they almost got Light as well. He's only forced to burn the cleanse though. Just like that, Baron secured for G2. They need to reset though, shouldn't overstay their welcome. And you're seeing how difficult this composition is for Weibo to navigate. Functionally, if they're the ones to initiate, the layering of their ultimates can be massive, especially onto a low mobility carry like this Orianna. They can really limit the movement of a Kai'Sa as well. Unfortunately, they haven't really been given many opportunities to set that one up. Outside of the pick that they were able to find on Caps, a lot of the fights have been set on G2's terms. There was a situation in the bot lane where G2 overcommitted and overforced for the fight in which Weibo could turn things around. But whenever it's G2 to initiate with the Nocturne ultimate, Weibo just, it's so difficult for them to fight their way back.
And with G2 having the Baron empowering their push, allowing them to set up this vision first, the opportunity for Weibo to start those long-range engages just really isn't there right now. Minute 45.
Look at Tristana once
Left
again
on the
though in the
Baron.
mid lane.
Xiaohu sees that he has an angle. Hard for anyone really to match him. Broken Blade a threat. Ulti there. Tarzan trying to kick things off. Breathe with an ultimate as well. A lot of resources burned to try and stop the push here, but there's another Baron wave coming in. They're going to have to concede this inhibitor.
Rumble ulti?
They have to be ready to go straight for the 5v5 if they don't want to lose this. But I think they should just give it up.
They're going to. Look at mid lane as well. Broken Blade keeping the push up, ready with his ultimate to join the fray at any moment.
G2 have to be careful though. Walking through that choke is such a risky proposition. Tarzan not having ult though is big. Weibo, I think conceding their ultimate ability just a little bit too early. Now going to have to give more. Nice ulti coming in from Breathe. No immediate follow-up. Hansama quick to cleanse here. Flashes on all the carries. Cleanse down for Hans.
The 6 scrubs doing so much work as well.
G2 continuing to push forward. Tarzan once again isolated from the rest of the team. Broken Blade going in, taunted up by Chris. Nice stun to stop from pushing forward. Broken Blade getting lower and lower. Dash through. A decent angle. Curtain call there. Xiaohu hoping to find the resets. Ulti coming out from Yike to try to get some more space for his team. Xiaohu now looking to follow. Steric's gauge big there. Xiaohu has to be careful though. It's a greedy move. It's going to cost him. Burns down. He thought he had the angle, but G2 playing with discipline. Just back off.
He was looking for a moment of resets. Get that first kill, reset comes through. Maybe he can clean up the fight. but unfortunately it doesn't come to fruition. A lot of flashes were burnt on the side of G2, but they get 2 inhibitors. The dragon spawns in 50 seconds, but maybe they don't care about it. With a few, well, with not much time left on the Baron, maybe they're setting their sights on the top lane.
Breathe does now have the Zhonya's, but he has no flash. Xiaohu has no flash, and that is massive for G2. Makes it so much easier for them to play out this fight. Xiaohu, you can understand why he went for it. The rocket jump resets, the static resets, the ability for Jhin to back him up from range. The montage potential was there, but the team was not in position, and it only puts them further behind. 1 inhibitor left. G2 can't afford to take risks, but in their position, set up to close this one out clean.
I mean, Xiaohu's still dead. If nothing else, they'll set up for this last inhibitor tower. The Grubs once again doing work. Tarzan trying to be off on the flank, has the ulti available. They're gonna go.
Spotted. Crisp ulti, the last chance. Redemption there. Crisp into the back line. Tarzan off on the side. Yike doing what he can to body block. Good movement for G2 to get away from the ulti. Broken Blade, decent ulti, but they've already lost Miky. G2, do they want to keep going forward? Resets now coming in. Light force shot. Not doing a lot. Xiaohu off to the side. No flash, but might not need it. Re-engage now coming in. Beautiful combo on the Orianna. Hansama on a rampage. Can they clean the fight? A 3v3 now. No way, but they might not need it. Xiaohu rocket jumping out. G2.
Look at the base, look at the base. It's falling apart for Weibo. It's a 2 for 2, sorry, as 3 members remain alive, but Caps has the TP available to him. He's gonna TP back to top lane.
They want to close it. 36 seconds on Light, 28 on Crisp. Breathe, no ultimate. Xiaohu has his. It would require a miracle. G2 continuing to push. They've got supers, they've got so much in their favor. The 3-man core standing strong. But Xiaohu, Breathe, and Tarzan want to make the difference. Xiaohu going in, Hansama backing away. Broken Blade with an excellent 2-man taunt. Caps there to follow up, and now Breathe is going to be in trouble. Knockback from Xiaohu is clutch, buying a bit more space, but Broken Blade just does not take damage. Tarzan in trouble now. Blade of the Rune King procced. Broken Blade single-handedly zoning, but G2 need to get the hell out. They bought enough time. Light is about to respawn. G2 could be in trouble. Yes, they found the kill. As Berlin comes alive, Caps turns it back, but Crisp is now on the hunt. Light has the ulti. Curtains opened. Hansama gets out, though, crucially.
Miky's back in the fight.
Following. Broken Blade still standing. Breathe, the blinking health bar. Hansama has the damage, the TP coming in. Caps is here, Paranoia is here. G2 want to end it, they've isolated the AD carry away. Do they just want to focus the Nexus? Caps trying to get a bit more space. Light still standing, 4 bullets. Hansama pulling him back. Breathe getting so much damage down. Miky knows that he can keep slide out. G2 will end the game. Crisp down, Light running. G2 will take down Weibo.
A close affair with crazy clutch fights. That final combo being pulled off by Yike and Caps. Hansama doesn't hesitate to flash in and follow up on the damage dealt. G2 needed to make a statement at this World Championship, and they will take down the LPL 4th seed.
An incredibly close game, but we've said enough. As the boys take their bow and send it back to the analyst desk.
Perfectly close, but not close enough.
Yeah.
I loved it.
What a good day.
Yeah.
They just gave us a good show, too.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Except for the 4 teams that lost, but
But everybody wins.
Everyone
somehow.
wins.
I mean, think about it. We got the T1 upset
Yeah.
because everyone loves seeing Faker and T1 go as deep as possible. FlyQuest won, NA happy, G2 wins, EU happy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the trifecta.
That's a thumbs up.
And it's the reassuring win, I feel, that G2 was looking for.
Yeah.
Especially against Weibo.
It got close, of course, just to make it entertaining.
Oh.
And they guaranteed an entertaining win. And the team fights